Hi. I I'm kind of a bit emotionally exhausted after that because it's an incredible story. So hopefully I'm not going to be too exhausting with mine, because basically I kind of starts with maybe the obvious thing. I lost an arm and a leg in an accident in 2012 where I fell under a DLR train that was arriving. Um, so that's kind of where it began because essentially I was kind of going through my normal routine of kind of recovering and attending prosthetics clinics and kind of rebuilding my body and stuff like that, just focusing on recovery. Um, but but what happened was that I was kind of doing this boring, mundane thing, um, and I noticed on the wall of the clinic that there was a leaflet for alternative prosthetics. And that was the first time I was really challenged to think about what I could do with this kind of freedom of being able to potentially choose what my body is like. Um, and weirdly enough, so I was checking out this leaflet online after I was just like checking it and checking it, the website to see what they were up to. And there's some really interesting stuff. There's people that kind of express their personality by having like snakes coming out of their arms. Like people who had snakes at home, they had like snakes that just grow sort of organically through their skin. People that could have like porcelain legs that have little pockets for different parts of their life, essentially. Um, and so I kind of looked at those things as kind of, I guess, like Ferrari, Lamborghini prosthetics, because they're kind of unobtainable. They're different to what I was experiencing of just having the kind of normal, peachy, beige nightmare technology that the NHS provides, which is great. It's functional um, in some ways. The technology that they use still today is kind of socket-based. It just goes over your body, and the designs that they use still are effective, but they've been patented in since kind of 1812 is a figure and a date, and that's kind of a generous number because sometimes I look at prostheses that you see in museums and you see kind of even cultures like ancient Egyptians, they had kind of carefully crafted uh, what's the word, articulated limbs, and it's kind of like it's kind of cool. I kind of feel a bit jealous of that, and it's kind of like they were kind of like Jaime Lannister's golden hand from Game of Thrones. It's just really kind of badass. Um, so visiting this website, after 2 years, I was looking at it, and basically it said, "We're looking for an amputee video gamer," and I was that's completely sort of unrelated to making prosthetic limbs. So I was very confused, but also really excited because it felt like I've spent probably the last 2 years recovering, just kind of focusing on just vegging out and just healing. I was playing video games all the time, so I was just, what? This is such a strange happening. So basically, I just filled out that form as soon as I could, like the same day. And I met with these people after about a month, and they met me in a cafe, which was called Look Mum No Hands. It's a kind of hipster cafe, so I was a bit confused as to if that was a test, but I think I passed. Because essentially, I got to then design my own bionic arm. And it was kind of an artistic exploration of what I could do with my body. And it had alternative functions. It had lights. It had a drone, a quadcopter drone that attached to the side. It had a torch and a laser. And it had a Twitter screen. And all these fun little things. It was kind of it just looked amazingly beautiful as well. And that was basically covered by the BBC at the end of that process. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. So it's kind of a strange introduction. But on that journey with the BBC, I did go around the world and I met people that were engaging with kind of their own bodies and the human technologies that we could potentially pursue in terms of stuff like transhumanism, which has been featured at 5x15 before and kind of explores where we're going to go with our human bodies. But that kind of as well affected me because it made me think, why am I just being artistic with this? Why am I not thinking, I've got this blank canvas for technologists to play with? It's kind of led me to a journey where I'm exploring having stuff like titanium and bone implants put into the bone, rather than kind of just attaching things with sockets over my skin. It just links to your skeleton in a way that's kind of naturally loading the skeleton, so I'd be able to move it around. I had surgery last year, which is kind of very, very new. It's a procedure that redirects the nerves from that used to go to my left hand, and they just obviously the NHS amazingly saved my life. I gave them quite a challenge, but they saved my life, and so they kind of just sewed it up, but they didn't do anything technologically advanced. So I went in for another procedure, and they redirected those nerves that went to my left hand to areas of my chest muscles all the way around this side, so that now when I think about doing stuff like clenching my hand, lifting my elbow, and lowering my elbow, you can't really see it with my shirt on, but different parts of my muscles actually move, kind of a bit like you're kind of doing your pecs a bit. So with that information, you can embed electrodes under the skin that pick up those movements and control a bionic arm naturally. So it's been really exciting, and I'm still working on that, obviously, because I'm not standing here like a Terminator man. But so alongside that, I was kind of thinking, if technology can do this for us, how else can we kind of be supported or rebuilt using technology? And that's kind of what led me to present Can Robots Love Us? Because I'm kind of exploring the ways in which potentially robotics, technology, and stuff like that could help kind of fill in the gaps where maybe in our new modern society we're maybe not being as humane to each other, or we don't have the time, or we don't have the ability to basically provide what we might need. So like how can robots step up with that? So in the show, we kind of explore kind of AIs for therapy to do with mental health. We explore kind of physical robots that could help the elderly in the home, because obviously we've got an aging population. They're living longer, and they kind of, I think, they want to maintain their independence more. Maybe you would too. So how can robots do that for us? And additionally, kind of being companions for us as well. And on that kind of path, we have sex robots as well, which I'm going to leave for today, but it's in the documentary. But I want to focus on mental health, because there's this really, really touching story in the documentary where I meet Rochelle. And she is a young woman who's been suffering with claustrophobia, which is basically a fear of being trapped. And she had an incident, basically, a kind of trigger incident that happened on the tube train, and it's kind of something that we would think kind of normal and routine, where you stop in between two stations and they say, we'll be moving in a few minutes, blah, blah, blah. But she found it so she became obsessed with that and developed this phobia. And so she doesn't use public transport, she doesn't get in lifts, she doesn't get in like unknown taxis, or just she has her own car with just a big panoramic sunroof, and that's like all she'll do. So it just disrupts her life the entire time. So in the film, we kind of see this immediate reaction, because she's basically been trying to figure it out and have therapy for 3 years, and nothing's worked. So in the film, she tries on a virtual reality headset that kind of immerses her in the environment that she's afraid of. It's kind of a bit like flooding, but in a controlled way, because in the computer's virtual world, you can just control all the little aspects of that environment and kind of see what she can deal with, bring her back a bit, make the level a bit easier. And what was astonishing and really heartwarming, so I urge you to watch it, is that she has an immediate, flicks a switch, and she just thinks, maybe I can deal with this. And at the end of that session, the first session, she gets in a lift for the first time in 3 years. And it's incredible. And so basically, it just made me think, if that's the virtual reality therapy, sure, that's kind of acute. But what else can technology maybe do for our mental health and our well-being? And for me, I've had this accident, so what could it have done for me, potentially? And I didn't have that kind of trigger. I didn't ever feel kind of afraid of DLR trains or anything like that after my accident. So it wasn't kind of like a traumatic trigger, but it was more that I think it comes from me just wanting to survive and wanting to be strong and kind of just be like, yep, I've got missing limbs, I'm going to deal with it. I just want to be healthy and be 100% of what I was before. That's the goal. So I kind of set on that goal. And I think it was really useful for me initially, because it kind of got me healed. But essentially, after 2 years, it left me wide open to realizing that I'm not 100%. I'm technically 89.1% of what I am before, amongst other things. So I had that realization, and I found it so frustrating. Just kind of, it was constantly advertised to me by the phantom limb pain, the pain of the missing limb. So it's like you never escape being reminded of what's happened. And I found it so frustrating and kind of overwhelming that it made me really depressed. It was like a whirlwind of negative thoughts that I couldn't figure out how to escape. I didn't really know I was questioning what I valued in life and what I thought was important. And essentially, I was depressed. I feel like depression is a really big word, but I just know that every day I would cry, and every day I would think that the only way out of this situation of not really knowing what I'm supposed to do, because it was so much, I just wanted to kill myself pretty much every day. And so fortunately, I basically had access through my work at the time to mental health benefits, so I could meet with a really good therapist. And I tried a few therapists because some of them are really annoying. But that's the glory of the employment benefit. So I could just choose that. I can have as much therapy as I want, basically. But that is basically far from universal, as we know. I think if you're trying to go and get some face-to-face with someone now with your GP, or through whichever thing your borough does, on paper there's a 4-week lead time, 4-week wait list. And some of my friends have tried to get specific treatments and been waiting for 18 months. So I feel like surely there's got to be a way that technology can kind of help with that. But yeah, it was kind of, I don't know how to explain. The therapy was really helpful because it kind of helped me deal with things and see things more positively. And also it kind of gave me the psychological tools to deal with things. And it helped me rediscover stuff like my love for science, which led me to meeting the BBC and kind of pursuing that goal of science communication, telling people about science. And it led me to talks like today, and it's taken me around the world where I've presented in like really random countries. I've been to Budapest and Helsinki and Cannes and just had these amazing opportunities because of the therapy. But yeah, people don't have that. And so what can technology do, and how can it step in at that kind of point where people don't have that access to that high kind of good and enduring therapy? And I feel like we kind of have to identify, what does a human therapist do? Because they're a human being, so you're talking to someone and they hopefully care about what you're saying. But essentially they are kind of a talking partner, they're a sounding board, and you're kind of telling your problems. They have a prescribed way of having to respond to you because they're trained. So they're kind of following a protocol, and they kind of help you maybe formulate plans to deal with your feelings. So the crux of it is that they're basically following these protocols. And so in the documentary, I meet these people, the founders of X2AI, and they are trying to create a mental health AI that basically follows these protocols the same way a human would. And it's kind of more private because it's not a human being, so you can tell them whatever. If you have cultural or taboo issues that you want to tell someone, it's not even going to judge you, it's just going to respond and tell you kind of the helpful things. It's accessible by text message, so you can do it, you communicate in the normal way that you would. Everybody kind of knows how to do it. And it even like checks up on you. It says, have you dealt with this problem? Like, how do you feel about this now? Did you get a chance to do it? So it's kind of pretty incredible. And it'll pass on sort of high-risk people who are saying, I really can't deal with it. It'll pass you on to the appropriate services at that point. So the question is it really going to be effective if people know that it isn't a human being? I don't know what you think, but if you think there's some other aspects of it where a robot's not going to get tired, there's kind of two sides to it. There's the mental health crisis of the person, and also people have to deal with it. They have high patient loads, and they have high patient loads and long wait lists, so they're just constantly burdened. And basically, people can burn out, and they call it compassion fatigue, and the robot is kind of never going to do that. And it makes me wonder, like, wouldn't it be amazing in the future if we could have something technological that would kind of reduce the wait time, so if you need therapy, it's not for weeks, it's immediate. And if that's the case, if we can get helped by this just by having something that does the process, maybe those kind of resources, maybe they could be directed towards hiring junior doctors, for example, because that's like a physical cost that can't really ever be escaped. Like an app, like this mental health AI can be scaled up to everybody. But when you're talking about a hospital bed, it has like a finite cost, and you can't just magically give that to everyone. Yeah. So I don't know where to end, actually. So I'm going to carry on, so apologies. So what if it would be bad for us as well? So in the documentary as well, I basically was positive about the experience that Rochelle had with VR, but I also met the sex robot, and that kind of left me a little more uncomfortable than that first experience. And I feel like from learning and being challenged by that, I thought there's so many chances for negative interactions with something like a sex robot, because it could change the way that people behave or understand human relationships. If it got to a stage where you're kind of being taught that the robot is never really going to say no, and that consent is something that you just get, and the other partner's needs are irrelevant. So we kind of have to be really careful in terms of the values in which we instill in technologies that are dealing with interacting with a human being, because if it's kind of an AI that is just doing trying to just approach the problem, there's a potential that with a mental health AI, if it was really general, it might just think, oh, the easy way to address your problem is to just show you pictures of cats and dogs and puppies, and that just solves the problem. So we kind of have to be really careful. But yes, I think it's really exciting because I've seen the potential of the mental health AI, and that's happening now. So you kind of have to imagine the potential. If we are able to create something that doesn't detract or distract from our everyday human experience, and instead has the capability to support us in the most human things about us.